Good evening. I have 7 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you. Mr. Greg David,
Present.
Mr. Tyler Dean,
Here.
Ms. Emily Hamburg,
Here.
Mr. Brandon McIntosh,
Present.
Mr. Mike Proctor.
Here.
And you have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you. This evening we have Gary Green from a resident of Bel Aire to lead us in prayer. Pastor
Yes,
Green.
sir. Thank you for having me. Let's all bow our heads as we look to God, the Heavenly Father. We thank you, Lord, for this council that you set in these seats and our honorable mayor you've sat here. We ask now at the beginning of this meeting that your grace, your wisdom, your patience rest upon each and every one of us for our decisions made here tonight on behalf of our community. You are the King of your kingdom, and your Son told us to pray, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. You're wonderful, Counselor, mighty God, Prince of Peace. Those are the traits of your, as King, surely they should be manifest in those in your kingdom. New Testament tells us God is love. May love be manifest in those professing to be under your kingship and your kingdom. May the least to the greatest in our community always be in the mind of our civil servants, that they all be treated with equity, fairly, and may the best outcome and be theirs. And we pray, God, that you're the giver of all things. You own everything in this world. We ask for progress and blessings to be given to the Bel Aire community, that we handle each and every one with gratitude, realizing we take so many blessings for granted. We've been so blessed, overly, abundantly blessed in this country. May we take a moment and pause on all your goodness to us. May we work together in harmony and unity for the betterment of all. In Jesus' name we ask these blessings. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please join me in pledge of allegiance to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is determine agenda additions. Do we have any additions to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda contains the minutes of the February 3rd regular meeting.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. David.
a motion to approve the consent agenda is listed and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Motion by Mr. David, second by Mr. McIntosh. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Just a quick question. Is Maria online?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have. Sorry for the delay.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to make sure you're here. I didn't hear from you, so I wanted to make sure you weren't missing out. Thank you for attending. Next item is approval of appropriations ordinance. This ordinance encompasses expenses from the January 28th through February 10th. Expenditures amounting to $1,117,609. Of the reported expenses, $162,638 are for infrastructure costs for new developments, and those costs are paid through special assessments.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Dean.
I move we approve appropriation ordinance number 26-03.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Dean, a second by Ms. Hamburg. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item is the city requested appearances. This evening, we have Mr. Ken Lee from Garver to make a presentation on the reconstruction of 45th Street project, which is slated to start in 2027. think we should be about done with the engineering effort, but I'll let you tell us.
Is this the right remote to be using? Yes. Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me here tonight. Ken Lee with Garver, 1995 Midfield Road. I'm a senior project manager and the transportation lead for Wichita office. So I was asked to come and give a presentation on the status of the project and also for the new council members to kind of talk through what we've got going on, and refresher for everybody else, just in case you've been wondering on what we were doing this whole time. So the office check plans have been submitted to KDOT. It'll take a few weeks for that review process to get done, but it's been submitted to KDOT. The scheduled bid date for the project right now is February 17th, 2027. So 1 year from today is when it's scheduled to bid. And the box project last year, south of 45th and Oliver, was installed last year. And it actually went pretty well, I think, for the shutdown and such. I felt like it went fairly well, which bodes well for when we're doing work at that intersection. I think we've proven that we can survive with work going on there. So that was successful. It was a good job by the contractor. They did a great job on that. So this is the original schedule for the project, and we submitted the office check here a short while back. So we're about a month and a half, 2 months ahead of schedule still at this point. So we may be ready a little bit early, but we're still on schedule to hit the milestones there. Just project overview, kind of walk through the project, talk about things that we're doing or have done. On this slide here, you can see the 2-lane roundabout that's proposed. And I'll go into a little bit more detail on the roundabout later, but it's a 2-lane roundabout. We do have a sidewalk that in this image here is shown as dead ending at the west end of the project, but that's not going to be the case. We've been working with the city of Wichita to extend that over to Stuckey Middle School. So that will not be a sidewalk to nowhere. It will be constructed with at the same time as this project, or around the same time as this project, it'll get installed. So we won't be just building a sidewalk to nowhere on that. The city was very happy to go ahead and work with us on that. We are proposing a new frontage road on the north side of 45th Street there, east of Oliver. That was originally dedicated as a frontage road back in the day when it was originally platted. It was partially vacated over time. So part of the acquisition process is to regain some of that property. But we've worked with the property owners on that, and we've made some arrangements with them. And it's hard to see in this graphic, but you can see the road gets a little wider between the intersections, and that's to allow parking on the roadway there. So that'll be a new frontage road, and the turnaround there is being installed just to facilitate turnarounds there. In the most technical sense, it's barely long enough to require the turnaround, but we figured it's best to provide that. The next stage over here is going east there between Kruger and Edgemore, and on the south side there, we will continue maintaining access to the sidewalks that go to Eagle Lake. So we're going to have one sidewalk that runs along the edge of the road, but we'll still tie into the existing sidewalks that run to the south. So folks who want to use the park will still have that kind of access. And over at Edgemore there, you can see we've got the realigned intersection there. So the school, rather than having that awkward, weird offset that's not really all that safe and great, we'll be moving that to straight across the street. We will be moving the signal over to the intersection as part of that too. So that signal that's a few 100 feet away. And we've heard that there's low compliance kids jaywalk all the time because they don't want to walk the 100 feet over to the signal. So going a little bit further east, it doesn't show up well here, but there's an existing frontage road between Auburn and Dundee on the south side of the road that we'll be reconstructing the entrances to keep that road active. We won't be replacing that frontage road with this project, but we will be replacing the end of it, and the sidewalk will run in between. And I'll mention we're going to have a 10-foot path on the north side of the street and a 6-foot path on the south side. And if you sat through the open house earlier where they were talking about, there was some grousing about that being on the north side, the 10-foot path on the north side. And the reason for that is if we didn't, it would require the relocation of hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of overhead electric poles to have the 10-foot on the south side. So that was one of the key drivers of that, was to reduce cost overall for the project. Now, the franchise utility has to pay for that cost, but when you're asking them to do relocations, you want to make sure you need to. And I know there was concerns about the driveways and such, and fears of kids coming out from behind walls, but in every instance, we'll make sure that there's 15 feet of sidewalk visible as people approach the intersection. So you're not going to have a kid just pop out behind the wall out into the street. There will be measures taken to make sure. So the wall itself is on the north side between Hedgerow and Farmstead and heading east. That wall's going to remain, but we're actually going to remove the planters because those have to get moved to install storm sewer. So the visual obstruction of those planters will be moved. And of course, the neighborhood, if they want to relocate them back into the right of way, they're able to, but those will be removed. Yeah, go ahead. The 6 foot's going to go to Stuckey. Yeah. We could have a conversation with the city about that if you'd like. I mean, I can certainly talk to them about that. We don't have the pole problem there once we get past the intersection. So that's something we could talk about as far as transitioning that across. We will have 10-foot. All of our openings for the roundabout will all be designed for 10 foot in case future 10-foot paths are ever proposed. So they'll all be 10 foot anyway. So we could easily accommodate that. That would be a pretty simple change to make. You can see here, and it was on the other plans too, we do have deceleration lanes into the existing additions just so people can slow down and get out of the way of the through traffic as they're going along.
Excuse me, Ken.
Yeah.
At Hedgerow, if you're moving those planters, is the neighborhood aware of those planters are going to be removed?
We've spoken with them about
Okay.
that.
Okay. I just don't want it to be a surprise to them because we know that that's all in the right of way, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ken, just to speak to that too, I remember the discussion. It was something like the wall's actually in our property.
Yes.
And we had a discussion. I think you guys had a discussion with them of we can shift the road alignment south and not take the wall out. So I think that's probably been a part of that discussion with my guess.
Yeah, it's been part of it. We're going to save as much as we can, but we also do want to make sure we're providing a safe environment and we're actually able to get our utilities installed. So, and Maria's been working with the property owners on the particulars of that, and we still a ways out from having the agreement, but in principle, I think we're in good shape.
So you're saying as of right now, none of that wall in the right of way should have to come down?
As far as the main wall itself,
Okay.
we're planning on keeping all of it. We'll take the planters off. We'll evaluate the site triangle there one last time before we get to final design or before final plans to make sure we don't have site distance issues and those kind of things. But so far, people should be able to safely pull up there without an issue.
And then that fence to the east at that one property, that long white fence, that'll stay as well?
Yeah, that's actually, the fence itself is located back far enough. It's not an
It's not
issue.
the right.
The only thing that property owner has an issue on, and he's not happy with us, is he's got an electronic gate control that's out in the city right away that's in the way of our sidewalk. So that's going to have to be moved.
That's the piece that's going to have to go.
Yeah,
Okay.
but the fence itself is fine. It doesn't have any issues. And here at the east end of the project, we'll be connecting into the Woodlawn improvements that were completed with Woodlawn. We will do a very minor amount of reworking of the pavement right there at the connection, just to make it work more naturally. One thing that's kind of weird is Hillcrest is kind of an offset roadway, so we'll have to do a little bit of gravel replacement to get it tied in on Hillcrest. One thing I don't think I've mentioned yet, but we are implementing, we did do a geotechnical investigation on this project, and there weren't any groundwater issues identified as far as that we've experienced in other places. However, just to make sure that we don't have any issues, we have implemented under drain system on this project that will make sure that we don't have any subsurface water conditions. If the water table were to rise or other conditions to arise, we're going to make sure that we don't have any issues on this.
Ken, just to clarify that, is that the whole length of the project? Is that just at the inlets? I know there's different ways of doing that.
It's not the whole length, but I would say it's probably 85 to 90% of the length is going to be protected with under drains. It's
all behind the curb.
Yeah, it's just going to be 4-inch perforated pipe in a trench behind the curb, about 4 feet deep, just to pull water out. If water starts to come up, it'll get pulled out into the storm sewer system.
Perfect.
So looking at the
Ken,
proposed,
sorry to
Go
keep
ahead.
backing you up. If we go back to your previous slide, looking at Hillcrest to Dundee, do I see 6-foot sidewalk between those two streets? 'Cause
Yeah, it
there's
is
currently
6-foot
nothing
sidewalk there too.
there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Excellent.
and we'll tie into the existing walk that currently ends there on the south side of the road. It ends there, right there east of Hillcrest. We'll be tying into that with our walk.
Fantastic.
And it's a
Thank you.
6-foot walk that we're connecting into there.
Okay.
And on the north side, the walk actually stops at the intersection. So we'll be taking a 10-foot walk all the way over and connecting over to the sidewalk at 45th and 45th and Woodlawn there. So this is the roundabout itself. And I know that one of the exhibits that I sent out, it was a very large scale exhibit and the roundabout looked tiny and everybody's like, wait a second here.
Yeah.
So I wanted to give a little bit of perspective. So this here is as it's proposed to be striped, and it's the inscribed circle, which is the main circle there, not the truck apron, but the main circle that cars will operate around. It is a 109-foot diameter inscribed circle with a total diameter of 160 feet out to the outside of the lanes. For comparison, for anybody who, if you want to go for a drive and get a comparison, the roundabout that was built recently at 61st and Broadway is only 93 feet. So this one is 16-foot larger diameter than that. And ours is 30-foot diameter greater on the outside because theirs is only a single lane on the main route. We're double lane. So this will be significantly larger than the roundabout at 61st and Broadway to just make sure that people going through it can navigate it well.
Ken, just to clarify that roundabout has a dedicated right turn too.
That one does
Does
have
that-
a dedicated,
does that
right, but
make
that's
the
not
sizing
part.
different?
But that's
Okay.
not part of the area. That's
Right.
actually, and that's only on the Broadway, east side of Broadway, where it carries that traffic directionally in that area.
I was just saying that in case anybody drives it, it will not look exactly like that.
Yeah, that's true. We will not have
Different.
those directional islands.
Right.
That's
Good.
very specific to that intersection where they have a lot of traffic that's directed on that side of primarily. So it won't be exactly like that. But as far as the inside, when you're driving through the middle of the roundabout, it'll be 30 feet wider on the inside of it, or 16 feet wider on the inside circle and 30 feet wider on the outside circle of the actual roundabout itself.
If I'm doing my math right, those lanes will end up being about 12 and a half feet each.
Yeah, they're
12 and a half feet
yeah,
wide.
a little bit over that, but yeah.
Yeah.
So decent sized roundabout. And just for other perspective, this graphic here shows what the existing intersection looks like underneath the new roundabout. So the new roundabout is probably 3 times as wide as the existing intersection is. And you can see most of that, it is shifted to the west a little bit. It's biased to the west because we had more room over there right away wise. So it is biased that way, but you can see there how much larger it is. The whole intersection fits inside the center island of this. So it'd be the equivalent of driving around the outside of the existing intersection. So
That's a good comparison. I like that.
I think that's an
Gives you some
easy way for
perspective.
people to visualize it. Yeah.
Right.
So, and I know probably a lot of people today look at the box culvert out there and they're like, why is it sticking way off to the left? And that gives you a better picture of why it is because once you look at that thing curving over and angling to the west, that length was necessary to accommodate those slopes. So it looks kind of silly right now, but there was a method to the madness. I put this together here. Ann asked me to put together a graphic. It's going to be kind of hard to see, but there's a car on the north side and a box truck on the south side. She wanted me to show you what it would look like. So we'll see if this works. So there's just a couple cars driving through the intersection, what it would look like. I thought about putting 3 and then I'm like, I don't want to have our first crash happen on the video here. So, but yeah, you can kind of see that the truck, a box truck can easily navigate that inside lane without any issues. Once you get to like a tractor trailer, I didn't do a graphic on that, but a tractor trailer, if they were to try to turn left, they would utilize that apron. They would have to swing wide and go around, and their trailer would track across that truck apron. That'll be a stamped concrete apron, but that's the purpose of that apron. One thing that the city will have to decide down the road is if you want to do any kind of aesthetic enhancement in the center of that roundabout in the future, as far as a welcome monument to the city or something like that, you'll have that opportunity down the road, but we're not incorporating that into the project.
Good. I don't want to spend another $1 million on artwork.
I hear you. So, but that gives you an idea of what it looks like. I mentioned we're going to be relocating the signal over to Edgemore, and we're proposing a Hawk signal. And the one shown in the picture on the left is at Westport and Ridge Road. It's an existing Hawk signal. And this one is kind of an important comparison because Hawk signals, if you ask somebody who specializes in them, they don't like putting them at intersections because they don't provide full control, but you can do it. And what they did on this one is, and it's hard to see, but on that pole on the left, on the left side over there, there's an auxiliary sign on that lights up with a don't turn right when the Hawk is activated. So we'll have that incorporated on both sides on this, where when you're coming up, it's going to say don't turn right or don't turn left. The primary striping will be on the west side to start with, is what we're planning on there. So that striping on the east will be just a stop bar. More likely, we won't have the crossbar to start with on that, but that's what we're planning with the Hawk signals. We had looked at doing what they call an RRFB, which is rapidly repeating flashing beacon. It's a word jumble there. And if you want to know what one of those looks like, if you go to the airport, there's one by the DoubleTree where you hit the button and the lights just flash really rapidly. And they're fairly effective at drawing attention and getting people to stop. But given that we have an existing signal, it felt like it was too much of a downgrade to go to that kind of a system. So the Hawks are relatively inexpensive compared to a full-blown intersection. But these will be set where the future pole bases go. So we'll try and repurpose those so they'll be of value in the short term.
So pedestrians here will have to wait for a light to change to cross.
Yeah,
right?
because
that other system that you don't have to wait for a light to change.
Yeah, the RFB just instantly flashes yellow. This
Right.
one will change really rapidly. It'll go pretty quickly, but they may have to wait a few seconds for the signal to actuate to tell them that they can go.
Ken, I know I've asked this a couple of times. I'm going to ask it again. What is and I probably haven't asked it exactly this way, but we've talked about this being a full signalized intersection. Can you kind of share with us why we can't just do that? And then also kind of just pull it out, kind of guess of what the cost difference is between that or just upgrading to a full intersection, so we have full control instead of this.
So in order to install a signal, there's different what they call warrants that have to be met in order to do it. If you have a large amount of traffic accidents, if you have really high pedestrian activity, if you have high volumes of traffic, in order to install a signal, especially if you have any federal funding involved, you're going to have to meet these warrants. And so when we did our traffic analysis, none of those measures were met at this time. So in order to do that, now the Hawk does not require a warrant. You can just put one up. That's more of a judgment call. It doesn't require warrants to do it. In terms of cost, everything's gotten more expensive. A Hawk system, I would guess right now, is probably in the $125,000 range to get one installed. They used to be $75,000. Now they're probably closer to $125,000. A new intersection is going to be $400,000 to $500,000 because you've got double the poles. You got a lot more actual signal heads you've got to install. You've got to install a controller. This doesn't have a controller per se in the way that a regular one does. It's a much simpler system. So it's 1/3 or 20, somewhere between 25 and 30% of the cost of a full blown intersection improvement. So any other questions on the Hawk? And then we're working on land acquisitions. We've put together track maps. We've given them to Ann to review. She's told us that they look good, so we're ready to go ahead and give her the final maps and start the acquisition process on that. And each map will show what's going on, what the proposed improvement is. It'll give the area of acquisition and the owner's name, PIN number, and every owner will get copies of this when they're going through the acquisition process. I just real quickly wanted to touch on another couple projects that are going on that we're involved in. The 53rd Oliver to Woodlawn Sidewalk project, we had the pre-construction conference on February 5th. The inspection on that project is being done by Sedgwick County, and their tentative start date is March 2nd. One of the questions that did come up is the traffic control and how they're going to handle traffic during construction. And we're asking them to provide a plan for us to review on how they're going to handle shutting that road down. They've asked if it's possible to shut the road completely in spots, and we told them that we cannot limit access into neighborhoods. So they would have to provide us with a pretty thorough plan for review on that.
Ken, when we were going through the KDOT review on this, I thought that was an issue that the KDOT had brought up, that they wanted a plan.
But we did
A
put
traffic
we've
plan.
got a traffic control plan.
Right.
They're asking to vary from it, which happens all the time.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
Tyler can probably speak
Can
more to
you-
the fact that,
Yours is more standards and you're wanting practical. How are you doing it?
yeah, and we provided the basics of what they could do, which is basically flaggers and direct traffic around the construction equipment that's operating on the side of the road. KDOT has standard plans for that. They're saying it can be done much more quickly. So nothing has been decided on that yet, but they're asking us to review that and asking Ann to look at that. So
Just to confirm, Ken, they priced it for that, and anything that they propose back to us that would be faster or easier, I would expect that they present us a reason to consider that.
yeah, and that's a fair position to take.
So-
I mean, no decisions have been made on it,
Wait,
but
that's fair.
that is one thing that's going on is just finalizing that part. The Aurora Park project is substantially complete. There is some hydro seeding and stabilization that still needs to go on the west part, and we're working on getting that part taken care of. But they've got all the pavement down on the east side, and Ted said they're going to be following up with rock pretty quickly after the seeding is complete.
Has the final lip of asphalt been done?
Yes, it's done.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it's down, and they got the ditches filled in that the folks were concerned about, and everybody that I talked to about it was very happy with the change.
Good.
So with that, I'll take any other questions you guys might have on it.
On the roundabout.
Yeah.
You mentioned sidewalks crossing the roundabout. Is there any sort of control for pedestrians crossing in those areas?
On the roundabout, that's 100% you're just relying on people paying attention. The biggest thing about roundabouts in that respect is you're reducing your conflict points for a pedestrian to have to be paying attention to. And that's why they're considered favorable. Because as a pedestrian, if you're walking across, you only have to look left and see the traffic coming from the side and around the roundabout. You don't have to worry about the other side of the road coming in or what's going on south of there, because you have the refuge in the middle. If you need to stop, you can pause in the middle along the way. So it really reduces the decisions that you have to make when you're crossing. You don't have to look at as many different things, but it doesn't include any kind of other controls.
These also are traffic calming. You have to slow down for roundabout. So you're not going to have anybody coming up at that crosswalk at 40 miles an hour.
Yeah, it'll be designed for
point.
more like
You're
25
just-
miles an hour.
Yeah,
So.
you're going to be at 20, 30, 25. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate the information and the update. See if we get that project keep it on schedule. Right. Thank you. All right. Ready for council member reports. Mr. McIntosh, do you have a report? Mix it up a little bit
Mr.
today.
Mayor, I do.
Okay.
Last week, I attended a K254 improvement meeting. That was very good, very informative. And then earlier this evening, I attended an open house on the side bike ped path proposal.
Okay.
As did most of the rest of the council, I think.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Hamburg. He thought he was going to be.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On February 5th, I attended the open house for the K254 interchange project. That survey is still open until Thursday. And one of the things I thought was, well, you have the growth projections and you have all the crash data. What can I add to this? And a part of it that wouldn't be captured in there is kind of what you see on a day-to-day basis, maybe some near misses or some information that maybe some short-term improvements might help. So that's open until Thursday. And then attended the open house this evening. I counted about 75 people. It was a good turnout. It was a lot of good information, good engagement. As the economists tell us, there are no solutions, only trade-offs. And so there's a lot to think through, but a lot of good feedback. So I appreciate staff hosting that. Thank you, Mayor.
Very good. Mr. Proctor.
I also attended the 254 open house and then tonight as well. A lot of great feedback. It was nice to be able to speak with some of the engineers on it and voice my encouragement to get that going as soon as we can and keep more of those intersections free flowing on 254 in a safe way. Also attended the Bel Aire Chamber of Commerce meeting, and that was good. And actually wound up as the secretary by the end of the meeting. So
Oh, that's right. You did.
that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. Mr. David.
Other than the sidewalk meeting, which I agree was a great turnout, great input. That's it. Thanks.
Mr. Dean.
Mr. Mayor, I do have a couple things. I also attended the chamber lunch. Mayor was actually our guest speaker, and he did a fine job educating, helping fill people in on the details of how the mill rate works and how property tax work and how unpopular they are, and also some of the stuff that's being done or at least being attempted at the state level. So I really appreciate Mayor giving his time and helping the folks that showed up sort of understand that better. And then also attended, this has been mentioned a couple times, the K254 study open house. It was well attended. It was more of a come and go event, so it's hard for me to really predict the total number, but I think they were happy with the showing. So I appreciate everybody that came and gave their input on that. And then on Friday the 6th, I also attended the K254 Corridor Development Association, had a meeting here at City Hall with KDOT and the Wilson team. And I just want to thank them for coming and presenting. And it was great. They shared a lot of different options, a lot of different interchange types. They actually used their CAD system to toggle between the intersections and the different options and sort of what it could look like, right? It's very early. None of those are set in stone, but it was really cool to kind of give everybody that visualization of what those either overpasses or interchanges or connecting roads at Rock, Webb, and Greenwich would look like. So I really appreciate them having that meeting and having that level of engagement and interactiveness. And then today, as has been said by most, attended the public engagement meeting downstairs with our citizens that were interested in the bike ped plan and a potential phase 1 project. Really appreciate the number of people that showed up and really appreciate all the comments. I think it was really well done by staff. Really thank everybody that came and voiced their concerns, their support, and some constructive feedback of maybe some different ways for us to consider using our funding, whether that's this grant or whether that's even us prioritizing certain roads. There's several roads named Rock, 45th, between Rock and Woodlawn. There's a couple others, I can't remember them all, but there was serious interest in investing in helping us better connect our city, and I really appreciate everybody's feedback on that. Thank you. That's all I have.
Very good. Thank you. So I'm going to be winging it a little bit. My notes did not update on the computer. I don't know why, but that's where it is. So I'll just try to get through it. First of all, I think Councilmember Mr. David has a birthday coming up next week. So happy birthday, Mr. David. A little bit early, but okay. All right. So thank you. As Mr. Dean mentioned, I gave a presentation on property taxes and talked about a few things going on in Topeka. So as we know, things start rushing fast in Topeka. When I gave that presentation, we did not know about a House Bill 2745. It was introduced the next day. Okay, so we got together. I went Kansas League of Municipalities. I got several people up there. I got up there to Topeka, and we testified last Thursday on that bill. Overall, the structure of the bill is a good structure, but there are a lot of issues with it that need to be addressed. They did pass it out of committee yesterday with some amendments. I've not actually seen those changes, but what I understand that they've done is they basically have took taken the requirement for an election off of it and tried to move it to a petition type of thing. I don't know that that's constitutional. I'm not a lawyer, so we'll let the lawyers figure that out, but I don't think it's they can do that. And they also have removed bonding from the tax limit, which was a major deal, because if they kept bonding under that tax limit, it would have just about killed any kind of growth in the state of Kansas. So they removed that. That was a good thing. And they also did something with a $50 million share formulas that cities would get definitely a share in those formulas. That to me it's so little money when you spread it among 3 million people. It's like, I don't even know why you bother, but that's okay. That's what they did. I did give them some feedback that I think they need to fix the election thing and make the election where if you exceed the limit, you go automatically to election in November. You move the tax bills be delivered in January with a due date in February. Simply because you don't have time to get an election in from September to November. That's as quick as you can do an election. I also said they've got to get schools involved in that limit. They've exempted schools from that limit, and schools, depending on where you live, is about 50% of the property taxes. So not having them in there is a big deal. Anyway, so that has gone to the House floor. There may be more amendments on the House floor. They'll be debating those several bills between Wednesday and Thursday, because Thursday is turnaround. Anything that's not passed in the House origination by Thursday does not get considered. It just dies for the year. So that is on the floor. Another bill is 2571. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, is the bill that was introduced based upon the shared roads, shared cost request. And that did pass out of committee as well and is recommended to the floor for approval. And they did make one amendment to it, which is a fine amendment. I think it just tightens it up and says you have to do these. If you have these shared roads already in place, then you have to have an agreement by January 1st of 2027. And if any future ones, you only have 180 days to make the agreement. Those are two changes that were not in the original bill. I think they're fine changes. They just give some more teeth to the time frame. So I spent Thursday and Friday in Topeka working those things. I also attended the meetings that have already been talked about with K254. Those all went pretty well. And I'm trying to think of some other things off my top of my head, but I can't. So we'll just go with that. So I think that's, and we will talk a little bit about K254 later and other issues. So we'll move on to attorney's report. Ms. Schrock.
Good evening. Yes, good evening, Council. I apologize for not being present tonight. Thank you for letting me attend through Zoom. In order to avoid a little bit of a coughing fit, I'd like to ask to not provide a report tonight. Thank you for providing an update on those bills, Mayor Benaj. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Move on to city manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Maria, I hope you get to feeling better. Sorry to hear that. Kinley, mixture of everybody took a lot of my report. Aurora Park, final lift asphalt went down last week. Some finishing touches. We'll, of course, do a final walkthrough before we close out that project. 53rd Street, we're going to be tentative start March 2nd. Organized today, we're going to meet on the crosswalk along Woodlawn next week to kind of provide an update of where we're at on that and how we want to move forward once that sidewalk is constructed. How can we get kids or anybody across Woodlawn safely? Street maintenance project bids tomorrow. Excited to see that. We can do multi-million-dollar projects, and I come up here and say I did this, did that, but we did get some movement on the blue street lights last week. I know it's a big pain in the butt. There's a defective bulb that Evergy knows about. strangely enough, we've complained so many times that my Evergy rep said that they created a new process where they outline and schedule the whole thing so that they can actually tell people when those blue streetlights will be replaced. I've reported everyone that I know about, and I know the mayor and probably every citizen has tried to. So we're going to try to get those replaced. She said some of them, I need to confirm, if not all of them tomorrow or sometime this week. But like I said, it's funny. Public service is funny. Sometimes we'll hear more about good job on replacing those blue street lights than anything we do. The mayor and I spent Thursday afternoon interviewing for new CCUA attorney search. Went really well, had a lot of good candidates. I think the front runner is going to serve the CCUA well. I know that's it seems like a minor position, but as we are members of an authority like that, it's important that we have good representation. We're at seat at the table when we're making decisions. A lot of people talked about the K254 meetings. I really appreciate them. The head count that they gave me was 100 people up at Northeast Magnet and about 50 people here. So Thursday, Friday, about 150 participants. One thing I did like us being there is they of course can see what's built already, but I tried to go to each breakout meeting and say, here's what's coming. Because I as much as I can say, hey, we've had victories here and there, you don't quite see them yet. So I was able to hopefully get in front of that and say, in 5 years, you're going to have building 2, 3, another building over here and another building over here. So hopefully we got that out. And I do encourage citizens to go take that survey online. This Thursday, I'm going to present to the women in commercial real estate. They chose Bel Aire to do a tour city. Last year they did Mays. I think the year before they might have did Park City or Valley Center. So they do tours of cities, and I'm excited to present Bel Aire to that group and all we have going for us. And then I noticed on the calendar a tree board meeting next Monday at 6:00. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Move on to item 11A. So this is an agreement related to 53rd Street multi-use path, which is slated to start construction on March 2nd from Woodlawn to Oliver. And in June 2025, the city entered an agreement with KDOT to administer this project. And as part of the KDOT project, construction engineering inspections must be completed by KDOT qualified inspectors. Since city staff does not have any qualified anyone who has those required certifications will provide the services. We will coordinate with Sedgwick County, who has agreed to provide construction engineering services. So city engineer Ann Stevens here to discuss and answer questions regarding this.
Yeah, so as the mayor said, this is for the construction inspection, construction engineering portion of the sidewalk. I did notice a typo in the report. The actual agreement does have KDOT paying for 95% of the construction engineering services. So that's fortunately a typo in our favor. But if anybody else has any questions, I'm happy to stand for them.
Okay, well, if there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Hamburg,
make a motion to accept an agreement for federal aid construction engineering inspection services with Sedgwick County and the Kansas Department of Transportation for 53rd Street multi-use path and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
a motion by Ms. Hamburg, a second by Mr. Proctor. Any questions or discussion? Last chance. Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Move on to item B. So the city was awarded a grant from High Risk Urban Roads project through KDOT, and this agreement sets forth parameters for the grant. The materials provided by KDOT and the city's responsibilities for installation and maintenance. And these are mostly safety improvement type of issues. So this will be done at certain intersections covered by the agreement. And Ms. Stevens is here to discuss this project as well.
So in the last several meetings, we've talked about this grant. short acronym HRUR. And what this covers is KDOT has a pot of money set aside for safety improvements that they're working to share with communities. We identified 53rd and Woodlawn, 53rd and Oliver, 53rd and 45th and I am trying to do this all from memory. I know I've got it written down somewhere. But anyway, we've got like 4 or 5 intersections that we're working with. And what this does, stop controlled intersections. What this does is this puts, oh, thank you. Okay, yeah. 53rd and Greenwich, 45th and Greenwich, 53rd and Oliver, and 53rd and Webb. So we've got stop signs on both sides of the leg of the intersection. So for 53rd and Oliver, 53rd and Webb, you will see as you drive up to an intersection, we'll see a stop sign on the left and a stop sign on the right. This is just kind of to help draw more attention. Then there's also stop bars. There's a few additional signs that are coming in. This is materials that KDOT is purchasing, sending to the city, and then city staff will be responsible for installing them. I did ask, it's like, okay, our staff's they're not professionals. They're not something that they are professionals, but they're not professional painting installers. This is not something that they do on a daily basis. They install stop signs, but not paint. So how hard is the traffic markings to install? And they're like, oh, you just need like a blowtorch, lay it down, and then you heat it up and it'll go down. So it sounds like it's fairly easy for them to install. If not, I know we have contacts with Wichita, with Sedgwick County. We could always reach out for help if our staff needs a little bit more direction on how to install these markings. I'm sure KDOT their staff would be also able to help us out, but it sounds like it should be fairly simple. In looking at the cost of these materials that they are providing, it was up in the $100,000+ range. So this is not an insignificant grant. There is no match for us. So this is all 100% funded by KDOT with the exception of the labor to actually install the materials. So very good thing to move forward. I did talk to them specifically about 53rd and Oliver and said, hey, this is an area that we're contemplating maybe turning into a 4-way stop. They were fine with that. We do own the east side of the intersection, but not the west. I did talk with Sedgwick County. They were 100% okay with us going ahead and installing these materials, these additional safety measures on their side. And the only other piece of the grant is we are responsible for maintaining everything for the materials that KDOT gives us for a period, I believe it's 2 or 3 years. It's outlined in the paperwork. But it's a really good deal for us. They do have more of these high-risk urban road grants coming up. That's something that I am keeping my eye on. But this is the first phase of it. So it's something that's very exciting for the city.
So none of these are putting in 4-way stops unless you decide to do that at Oliver and 53rd. Is that correct?
That is correct.
When I read this, I thought it looks like you're putting 4-way stops in all these, and I was thinking, I'm not sure we want to do that. But okay, this makes more sense. I understand this.
And that's exactly the question I had, because when I saw the material list, and particularly like the 45th or 53rd and Webb, I'm like, wait a minute, that's a 2-way stop. Webb goes straight through. I'm like, oh no, you've got a stop sign on the left and a stop sign on the right. I'm like, okay, that's where you get the 4. That's not where it's not 4-way. So yeah, no, I had that very same question. I did have to call and clarify because I'm like, wait a minute.
Okay.
So.
And then we have Collison's right across K254 if you need help with striping,
Yes.
right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
I was actually just about to say that we do have some neighbors that are professionals at it, and I'm sure would be willing to help.
Yeah.
One question I did have, though, you brought up 53rd and Woodlawn. That is not one that's listed in this report. My question was, even though we're doing this grant, that doesn't keep us from potentially making a decision later to maybe do some of the similar enhancements at other intersections on our own budget, right? I mean, we're not ruling out improvements to other intersections. These are just the ones that were identified for that grant specifically.
That is correct.
Okay.
And I apologize for the
Nope, you're
confusion
fine.
mentioning 53rd and Woodlawn.
You're fine.
Trying to remember which ones we had in here.
I just wanted to clarify for citizens that we are also reviewing and prioritizing others that we've been aware of. This is just an exception to the rule that we're getting this sort of free grant money that we can go make those specific improvements.
Yes, that is correct.
Very good. Thank
I
you.
think the bid letting, it's going out tomorrow, or is it coming back tomorrow?
Going on.
Oh, it's letting is tomorrow,
Letting tomorrow.
not opening. Okay, so
Or
the
no,
bid,
open.
We
the bid letting
opening.
will, the bid, is the bid opening tomorrow?
Bid opening.
Okay, the bid opening tomorrow, I think, involves Woodlawn and 53rd. So I think there is a project out there. We are thinking about that. Okay. So we'll see that probably next city council meeting. I think. I don't know.
Yes.
Depends on what you guys come up with.
We're.
It depends
very
on the
hopeful.
turnaround. We'll see.
Right.
We'll
I
see.
get it.
You-
Okay.
The intent is to
That's
have
the
it at your
intent.
next city
Right.
council meeting.
Very good. Okay. So we hope so.
All that to say is it's about to be construction season, citizens. Lots of road work going on. Thanks.
Yeah, please be
Yeah.
patient. Thank you.
If we
Okay.
do choose to later convert one of these intersections to a four-way stop, do we need to do anything like take up the extra paint stuff on the roadway or?
No, everything is going to be installed per KDOT standards. And if we do choose to convert one to a four-way stop, then we're just going to be installing extra materials on those other two sections.
Okay.
And kind of likewise, if we choose to put in additional blinking, the flashing stop signs, that's something that we'll just contact KDOT and work with them. This is what the city decided to do extra. So
Yeah.
I see.
we'll just kind of work with them through the process.
Well, if I'm understanding it right, and correct me if I don't have the right understanding, but a lot of the paint here is just stop bars. Is that correct?
If I remember correctly, yes.
Which are, I think, helpful.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'll go ahead and move we approve the contract between the Secretary of Transportation, Kansas Department of Transportation, and the City of Bel Aire, Kansas for participation in the high-risk urban roads program and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Dean, a second by Mr. Proctor. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Move on to item C. So Public Works has requested to buy a forklift. And as part of moving into the new building, staff has identified the need for this to safely unload deliveries and move materials onto the mezzanine level. And currently, the city does not have a forklift capable of performing those functions. So I did have a little discussion with Mr. Marty McGee about this, just to clarify a couple issues. And one was, I saw it was propane, and I didn't know if he was set up to handle propane because I don't remember seeing anything there. He says he has a supplier, and they do use it for a couple of things already. But he's got a lot of equipment there. I can't know everything he's got in there. So, and the other is, I do know OSHA requires that forklifts have specific OSHA training, and he has already arranged for that. So he's on top of it. So, Mr. McGee.
I'm here to answer any questions if I can.
Mr. Dean or Mr. David.
Maybe it's the summary that's wrong, but the Bobcat shows a 3,000 hour warranty versus the Clark a 4,000 hour. Is there anything to that? Because if you look at cost per hour, it actually comes out a little better with the Clark.
Yeah.
But there's probably other considerations too.
Well, yeah, there was. It was lead time plus the manufacturer parts and everything for the Clark. The Clark just wasn't, and I believe the Clark was right at the 12-foot mark or 13-foot mark is what it was. That was the max height. So our platform is 12 foot.
Yeah, you don't want to cut
we
that
need to go
short.
at least 13 and to get above the platform and slide on whatever we need. So that would be pushing it. Plus it costs a little bit more and I just didn't go with it. So we got five different options we looked at, and there was a lot of phone calls, a lot of discussion, a lot of everything trying to get to this point to where we're at right now.
I would not cut that short. That you need to have that extra space. I've seen it where it was too tight and it's like, that doesn't work well. It's not safe. The other thing I noticed is on those warranties, there was a time limit, like 2 years, right? Or both of them 2-year
24
limit?
months. Yep. Two years.
So you're not going to run a forklift 2,000 hours in a year. That'd be running almost
That's a
constantly,
warehouse type
40
deal.
40
That's-
hours a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's not going to happen. So I think you got plenty of cushion in there at 3,000 hours.
I think so.
That's my opinion. Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. David,
motion to approve a purchase contract with Lift Truck Center for one new forklift at a cost not to exceed $37,563.70. Authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
a motion by Mr. David, a second by Mr. McIntosh. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. On to item D, this resolution is, I'm sorry, I'm get the right notes here. So this item is the request of the developer and Mr. Kevin Cowan, our bond attorney. The original intent resolution for the secure storage project contained an expiration date that has expired. So construction of the project has proceeded in phases, with 2 phases already completed and construction of a 3rd phase starting soon. Because an update industrial revenue bond sales tax project exemption certificate will be needed for the 3rd phase of construction, and because an effective intent resolution is required for such exempt certificate, it is necessary to amend the resolution of intent to extend its effective date until December 31, 2026. And our city manager can answer your questions. And the short of this is we're just extending something that was already approved.
Extended something we already have. So this project's $7 million project. They did it in phases. I think we approved this phase 2 IRB in December of last year. When Kevin reached out, they're going to start phase 3. It's all within that $7 million that we approved back in 2023. But most of the paperwork that you see when we approve, Kevin will go and submit the sales tax for purchase, and they realize that it expired and they want to get started on phase 3. So in order for them to get started, we want to approve this tonight. Kevin is apologized he can't be here tonight, but with the holiday yesterday, a lot of his other meetings went into on a Tuesday. And he's taught me everything I know about municipal finance over the years. So I said I could probably fill in for him, but happy to answer questions. He also said he's available for a call if he needs more.
Ted, I just had one question. I see that it's just through the end of this year. Is there any worry that we shouldn't extend it
No,
further?
he talked to the developer, and they're going to get done. I think it's another smaller one. I think last year it was $250,000 improvement. I think it's along the same lines.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. McIntosh.
make a motion to adopt a resolution of the governing body of the city of Bel Aire, Kansas, amending its resolution number R2237, which relates to the advisability of issuing taxable industrial revenue bonds for the purpose of financing the acquiring, equipping, and constructing of a storage facility to be located in the city, and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
A motion by Mr. McIntosh, a second by Mr. Dean. Any questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. The next item is an executive session. We need to have a 30-minute executive session on the item A.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. McIntosh.
make a motion to recess into executive session to discuss with legal counsel and receive legal advice related to pending litigation. The discussion will be pursuant to KSA 75-4319B2 for legal discussion with Neil Gosh, which would be deemed privilege in the attorney-client relationship. Invite Neil Gosh, Catherine Klumsky, city manager, city attorney, and city engineer. The meeting will be for a period of 30 minutes, and the open meeting will resume in city council chambers at 8:30 p.m.
I'll second.
A motion by Mr. McIntosh, a second by Mr. David. Was that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. We're in executive session for 30 minutes. Okay, I'm going to call the meeting back to order. Held executive session, no binding action was taken. Ready to move on to item B, another executive session, and I'm going to ask for 10 minutes.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Proctor.
I will motion to recess into executive session to discuss the performance review of the city attorney. The discussion will be pursuant to KSA 75-41319B1 to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel. The meeting will be for a period of 10 minutes, you said?
Yep.
Great.
10
And
minutes.
10 minutes. And the open meeting will resume in city council chambers at 8:41 p.m.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Proctor, second by Mr. David. Call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We're executive session for 10 minutes. We held an executive session, no binding action was taken. I'm going to call the meeting back to order, and we'll move on to item 13, discussion and future issues. So, Ted, you have an issue here of WAMPO call for projects. You want to talk about those? Anne's going to do that? Okay, thank you.
So currently, WAMPO has an active call for projects for their transportation improvement program through the years 2027 through 2030. And this is the actual program that sets the dollar figures that projects are going to be awarded. So we currently have our 45th Street project in the TIP program for 27. And we have the sidewalk project that is also programmed in the TIP. The question is whether the council would like us to submit any additional projects for consideration, or if we just want to skip this call for projects. The next project in our priorities was Rock Road from 45th to 53rd. We also had the 53rd and Webb intersection, Webb Road from K254 to 45th, Oliver from 37th to 45th, Woodlawn from 45th to 53rd, Oliver from 45th to 53rd, and 45th from Woodlawn to Rock. We did speak with Kristen Zimmerman and Tim Agier with PEC earlier this morning, and their kind of thoughts on particularly the Rock Road. There's a lot of pre-work that really should be done to set us up for a good project, for a solid cost estimate. And that's always been kind of the hardest part. At this stage of the project, it's a line on the paper. I don't have the information. I know there's floodplain on Rock Road. What is the council expecting? Are you expecting a 3-lane curb and gutter roadway with drainage? Are you expecting a rural section, which is just the 2 lanes, no curb and gutter, open ditches, sidewalks? Those expectations need to be laid out and set. I'm just thinking that and then also to give citizens, listening to the conversations that have occurred over the past several months, specifically in regards to the sidewalk project. Well, what's this going to look like? Where are you going to put it? How's this going to impact my property? If we start looking more at a concept phase for the projects that are our number one priority, I think we're going to have a much more solid cost estimate, because some of the preliminary engineering work is going to be done. The elevations are not necessarily going to be set, but you're going to have the roadway geometrics. You're going to have a plan of what does this look like. You're going to do some initial citizen involvement. Hey, is this kind of what you're open for? What are you looking for as far as sidewalks, as far as drainage, as far as roadway sections, and making sure it fits how much property is going to be affected by whatever roadway section we choose. So it would be kind of my thought is if we stick with the 2 projects that we currently have in the TIP and not submit a new one, but wait for 2 years, January, February of 2028, which is, hate to say it, right around the corner, and just and focus on that call for projects for another major street improvement. That call for projects would be for the years 2029 through 2032. So it's every 2 years that we do these call for projects, and you don't need to submit something each time. If it's the council's desire, we can certainly do that. That would also give us a lot more information on what KDOT is looking at on the K254, which I think is going to inform our decisions a lot more.
So a couple questions I got on that is, this call for project is due, if I remember right, March 6th or something like that.
That is correct.
March
It's-
2nd? Okay,
it's
so it's
that-
coming right up.
It's
There's no
early
time.
March.
There's no time to do an engineering evaluation of
That is
anything.
correct.
But Rock Road is got some issues, and it doesn't have issues that are going to last 5 years. Are we doing anything in the interim right now? We got anything in the pipeline?
The project that bids tomorrow for the 2026 street improvements, that does include an overlay of Rock Road.
Mill and
from-
overlay?
Correct. And it includes basically a complete reconstruction, full depth reconstruction of the intersection at 53rd and Rock. And then we're going to restripe that. So with that in mind, I personally don't know that it's worth the city's money at this point to move forward with the 2026 street improvements, including that project, and then come in and plan in the time periods of 27 through 2030 to completely redo all of
Right,
that.
right. No, I understand that. And that's why I was asking the question, because I wanted to make sure that if
There's
we don't
something
have
there.
it, if we don't have a plan to do an immediate mill and overlay of that road, which is sound like we do, we can't wait
Right.
for another 2 years to put it in to try to get it to the project selection committee and get it into an MTP and then a tip, you're looking at 5 years, right?
Right.
So I don't think we could tolerate that for that road, but doing a mill and overlay would give us that time. And so I'm okay with that if that's what we want to do.
Mr. Mayor. I'll add to that. I think I said this at the last meeting. I don't know how it got brought up, but I think Rock Road may not be a WAMPO project. It may end up being something that we go through the concept study and we vet it out and we decide that's just a 2-lane road, but we want to add a sidewalk. How do we make that happen? And the city just does a $2-3 million project, and we don't do a 3-lane. That's a $10 million project. I don't know the answer, but that could be what we do. And so I would hate to throw that on the WAMPO list right now if we think those other two,
Okay.
obviously 45th and what was the other one you said? The Path. Those are the two, right, that are in there. And then I think the other comment I made was the intersection at 53rd and Webb. That also is a situation I don't think can wait for a WAMPO process. That's this part, right? There's other avenues we discussed that could be helpful for a grant. So I'm fine with that too. And also just kind of thinking in the back of my mind, we want to get Woodlawn finished and then we want to bid and get 45th finished before we even start probably that next project. Cause just thinking about impacts to our citizens and cost. And so I am fine waiting and getting more prepared for next year or whenever the next call is. You
Well, it's
said
every 2 years.
January 2028. So by
It's
the
every-
time, but by the time we approve a concept study and get through that, we're going to already be into sometime next year. So it's really going to be less than a year out from when we finish that we put it on a list.
Yeah. So we
That's
need
my
to,
thought.
but the other side of that is you do need to think about, do you want to get major project on that list with WAMPO or not? And if you put it out there today, it would be 5 years before you're constructing it. Okay. It just takes that long to get it through their process.
Yeah, you do have to put it in there early.
Right. So waiting 2 years puts the project out 7 years. Okay. So just kind of keep that in mind, but I'm okay with doing that because we don't have time to do the engineering of anything to get decent estimates of what a project's going to cost. And we just do a ballpark. That's all we can do right now. So.
Mr. Mayor, so that's the way WAMPO works. You have to have a firm estimate to even put in there.
So I'm not sure how firm it has to be, okay, at this point, but it's a little bit of a bidding game. I mean, you're on the project selection committee, you know more about what those deliberations are like. So
The more fleshed out a project is, the higher it ranks, because the city is very committed to this project. The last round of project selections that I sat in on, there was a community that said, hey, I want to do an intersection here, but it impacted a state road and they hadn't even contacted KDOT yet. So it's getting all of that fleshed out and making sure kind of what's going on with the project. Given the situation with Woodlawn, it's hard to estimate it in 2018 is when that project first started, and then expect all of those prices and anticipate all of that fluctuation in the market to get a reasonable, close estimate. And we had a lot of time that we upped the cost estimate, and it still just didn't quite work. So trying to take the lessons learned from that Woodlawn project and the time involved in that, and moving forward, as well as the lessons learned in the sidewalks projects. The phase one that we've been talking about is in trying to get a more fleshed out, more not buildable, but more palatable project, and making sure that we've kind of crossed our T's, dotted our I's, and we've done that thought experiment and thought about all the potential issues and make sure that we have costs accounted for. That way, we're never guaranteed additional funding. We're always kind of, I use quotes, but guaranteed the initial funding that we get from WAMPO when it's first coming into the tip. We're never guaranteed that we're going to get more money. So the more accurate your cost estimate is the first time it goes in, the better off you're going to be in the long term.
Well, if that's all that's required and it's due in 2 weeks and the questions are answered, there's no way we're ready.
And that's the hard thing. It's not required, but it's in our best interest. It's the due diligence aspect of it.
Let me flip it around and ask you this question. With the exception of rock, if you did pick whatever you just listed off, which one would you want if you had the 2 weeks and we told you, yes, get with PEC, put together the best number you possibly can? Which stretch would that be besides rock?
Besides rock, I would personally probably pick Woodlawn from 45th to 53rd, just because we've started that project. We've got the South Mile done. We've got a good idea of what's going north. We know there's a school there. It's connecting all of the pieces. Would probably be kind of where my vote would go next. Knowing that some of these others, the 53rd and Webb intersection, there's other avenues of funding for that. But that's kind of where I would go next. However, that's also included in the 2026 street maintenance plan. So that one's getting a little bit of a facelift, and we've got some other plans thinking about connectivity and particularly the school crossings. But just, just kind of shooting from the hip.
Mr. Mayor, and what about on 53rd between Woodlawn and Rock? Because that doesn't go all the way through.
As far as,
Just like a bike path. Sorry.
On the 2-lane.
okay.
Yeah, because there's a path that comes from the school and it goes about a half mile west and then it cuts down into the neighborhood, but it doesn't. You got to go clear down into down below the park to come back up and around, or you got to go on a very skinny shoulder.
And that's also another possibility.
That road's also in rough shape.
Yeah.
So the question is, do we make it a 3-lane or is it a 2-lane?
And my biggest concern is if we start putting in these bike paths without having a good plan for the road improvements. I don't want to put those bike paths in and then have to tear it out when we're doing the road improvements, because you want to make sure everything works together, and just having that elevation. And I mean, Woodlawn, 53rd, we're weaving in and out of things and kind of working all around with the elevations to get those to work. So it sounds easy, but when you look at the engineering aspect of it and want to put something in that's going to last for, more than 5-10 years, then you want to make sure you think of down the road and what we're going to do with that street.
Yeah. Aside from how exciting it is to ride a bike through that curvy path, but yeah, if we're not ready, we're not ready.
Okay, so I'm still back on the estimate, how close it has to be. We know we want to connect east to west, north to south, Woodlawn to Rock up to the parks. And we know it costs at least $1 million a mile. Why couldn't we just throw that in and say, we'll get the estimates later as we go, but we know we want it done before 7 years from now. So, and they were very flexible with us on this last one.
Are you talking about the streets or sidewalks?
Now I'm talking, we switched to bike paths, it seems like.
Okay.
That's a WAMPO.
No
Are you
worries.
talking? I don't know that that's our best route. I'll just personally say that.
Okay.
I think the WAMPO funding for a project of that size seems, I know we got it and I know we're trying to figure out how to use it, but I don't know that we want to push the button on WAMPO to give us funding on the next 2 phases necessarily. I don't know that that's the best way to spend the WAMPO dollars. Those are such small projects. It feels,
Go straight to the street.
I don't know. It just feels like, this is just my opinion. It just feels like that small of a project. It feels like we're going to spend by percentage of the project size. We're going to spend so much more money and effort on that project than we could just be if we just bid it out as City of Bel Aire. I get the point of not wanting to tear it out, but part of it's waiting on 254 and the decision of what 53rd looks like. If we can get a better understanding of that, I would be willing to invest in a path if we knew it was a 10+ year investment that we weren't tearing out. But some people might not agree with that. But we might be able to do that as a city project. I don't really think we should go through a WAMPO process, especially if it's going to take us, at least those first 3 phases are already in their plan, right? They're not all funded. So I'm not saying take those out, but I don't know. That's just my take on the WAMPO funding. It just feels like the smaller the project, the less return we're going to get on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I just have the way WAMPO projects have gone. I just don't have a good feel for them having good fidelity to cost and that because they have to go by the KDOT and the U.S. Department of Transportation rules on construction and design. So that raises the cost, and then not only that, then you end up with surprises that you don't anticipate. And we've seen that with Woodlawn. We saw it with this project we're starting on 53rd Street as well. I mean, there's some sticker shock there. It's like I'm not comfortable with that.
But I get what you're saying, Greg. I really do. But I wonder if we're going to throw something together, I would suggest we throw together a major road that we have some recent cost history, and we kind of know what we're ballparking 45th to be at. Why don't we just do another mile stretch of a full reconstruction just to throw it out there? And maybe it's the one you suggested, or maybe we should throw out some other options that we just get it on the
It's
list.
either Woodlawn or 45th. I think those are the 2 logical ones that are extensions of what we've already done.
Right. Yeah,
Right?
45th from Woodlawn to Rock, or Woodlawn from 45th to 53rd. Either one of those seem like they would be good fits for that.
45th would be another good opportunity.
Yeah. Those are the 2 extensions you got of existing projects. So
One more question. Could we refine? I mean, I know we're kind of talking about throwing this together. I assume we can come up with something. It's not going to be great. Next year, is there any opportunity to amend that? I mean, can we update that like we have done on 45th?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
So maybe there's no way, you're not losing by just putting something in there.
I think it's just the issue is, and it's probably not bad to just throw it on the list. The issue is that, as Ann said, they're going to recognize that you're not as ready. Okay. And if another project is more ready, it's going to get priority over you. Okay. So that's the only thing. But in reality, remember, there are like 22 communities bidding for this stuff. Okay. They have a limited pool of money, and that's, you're not going to win them all.
Right.
Because they'll have to win some.
Right.
And you've talked about, yeah, I'm a little torn because you've talked about the Jello against the wall. You got to throw projects up and see what happens. But the other piece I was thinking of is with 45th Street and Woodlawn and 45th coming up, what does your plate actually look like? I mean, is it just reasonable to wait till 2028 because you're going to have a full plate anyway? You couldn't really deal with anything else, or as soon as you get it in, it's just wait after that.
So in working with Ted, we've got our master services agreement with PEC, and they've been helping a lot to take a lot of the stress off of me. And when I get full, that's where they come in and kind of work as my assistant, so to speak. So really having a second or an additional project on the list, such as 45th or such as Woodlawn, it's not going to really add too much at this stage because we're going to be doing mostly design. It's going to be, or a concept phase. It's going to be mostly working through that. It's not going to take as much hands-on.
I guess another way of looking at it is we got selected for Woodlawn back in 17, 18. Then we got selected for 45th, just 2 years ago. We've kind of been getting one every 6-7 years. So maybe we should just put one on there because we want one every 6 or 7. That's not going to be the only projects we're doing, but we probably ought to have a major arterial on the list all the time that's waiting for approval. That would be my thought. And then we could update it every future year. I guess we just got to agree on what project that is. I think the two that you mentioned are good candidates.
And we do have several projects in the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, which is that overall grocery list, so to speak, of projects that are, they have to get into the Metropolitan Transportation Plan first before they can be considered for funding and inclusion in the Transportation Improvement Project Program, which is that funding mechanism to actually put the money towards it. So just because it's in the one, it's still eligible, just maybe not for this 2027 through 2030 timeframe.
Do we have anything in the MTP right now?
Yes, I believe there's several of these projects that are in there. I can't, off the top of my head, I can't remember which ones, and I did not write those
They're
down.
major
They are-
arterials.
Yes.
You believe the two that we
I'd say
talked
just
about
leave it alone.
are-
If we already got them in there, I'd leave it alone.
Without looking, I can't say.
I guess the last question I have is, you have bids open tomorrow, like if we did Woodlawn between, like, what about the complication of tomorrow where would you have to try to pull something out, or could we amend that later?
That would be council's decision. That Rock Road is not in good shape. As the mayor mentioned, I'm not sure how much longer we can wait on that one, particularly with no striping on it. That gets to be a dangerous condition. Woodlawn between 45th and 53rd is very similar. We're getting ready to change school start times, so we really need those left turn lanes, which we're getting ready to do with the Woodlawn project. So both of them are kind of set up to wait a little bit longer. And that's just, it's going to be council's decision, kind of like we're going to be doing 45th in a couple of years, but council decided to go ahead and do the mill and overlay on the worst part of it. And it's, do you want to go ahead and spend the money to do the project or not? There would be the opportunity to pull Rock or Woodlawn out. I'm not sure if there would be, sometimes there's a loss of profit if you pull a major chunk of the project out. I'm not sure, not that familiar with the contract documents to know what that is, but I just want to throw that out as a possibility.
And a follow up on that, the mill and overlay, what was the estimated time frame of, like, how long do we expect it to extend? Is it usually like 10 years, 8 to 10 years, somewhere 7, 8 years? Just along to that question, if that project ever even happened,
Right.
it's still 7 years out.
I want to say it's 7 to 12, but I can't remember.
So we're still getting good longevity out of it on Rock or Woodlawn, even if we do get funding and do it in 7 or 8 years.
If you do a mill and overlay, there would be no reason to rebuild it unless you need to expand it.
Right.
Right.
And you're not going to do both. You just do one of those, but
Not in 5 years.
Right.
Okay.
I think, though, that everybody would agree that the conditions of Rock, and probably to a lesser extent, but to some, because of the traffic and the school and the crossing, both of those need some sort of an upgrade within the next few years. We're not waiting 7 years to do something to either one of those roads. So I don't know that plays too much into, we should just put them in, and if we get a reconstruction funding, we could reconstruct it completely. But I guess I'm looking at timeline and how best to invest our money. I mentioned that Rock maybe isn't a full 3-lane reconstruction. So we got to figure that out before we go probably submitting that one to Lampo. I guess I would suggest, if we're going to submit one, it either be Woodlawn from 45th to 53rd or 45th from Rock to Woodlawn, or both.
Okay. Are you clear as mud now?
Does anybody
So-
agree with that on the council? Like, those would be the two that I would pick.
And were you saying 45th between Woodlawn and Rock would be one you would submit?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think that'd be a great one.
You also mentioned Woodlawn from 45th to 53rd. How prepared are we to submit, budgetary numbers on that? How much do you have right now? How much work would it be to get it? How far could you get in the next 2 weeks to have something that's selectable?
In talking with PEC, they have the initial cost estimate that we had put together to submit for the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. That would just need to be updated. However, the concept for either of those two projects would just be very simplistic. We would not have the time or the budget to go through and doing any sort of more in-depth analysis. It would be more similar to what we had originally done to get the phase one sidewalk path put together and selected. It's those smaller projects like that phase one sidewalk. Oh, we have $100,000. We have $800,000 left. Where do we put this? And so that's how the smaller projects get selected. But the larger ones, such as an arterial street, those take a lot more to get selected. So if you really, really want to get that to get selected, then you're probably going to be doing somewhere in the range of a concept study, or backing it down a little bit and doing more due diligence to get that a little bit more prepared.
So
But-
in your opinion, with as far as is possible to get in the next 2 weeks, is it worth trying? Is it worth the effort?
I personally don't think it would be worth the effort, knowing the other projects that are coming, but to try and get much further than we already are, other than just an update of what we've got. Now, if the council's truly desiring to put in 45th, that would be fairly simple. We can easily get the documents uploaded. It's just going to be more simplistic, not as well thought out. So there may be some additional surprises that hadn't been thought about. And that's just the piece that concerns me a little bit. But I personally, I don't feel any concerns waiting for that next round to get things more fleshed out, get things more ready, because the January, February 2028, that's right around the corner as well.
Okay, thank you. Then I'm of the opinion we wait.
I'm just of the opinion that if we can refine it, why wouldn't we just put something on it and refine it next year, or the next time?
Right.
Just to get it on the list.
And it's really kind of, I've got a couple people telling me one thing, a couple people telling me the
Pretty
other.
split right
So
now.
clear direction,
There's
no.
pros and,
If you
there's
come
pros and
to-
cons to either
Let's
side.
just do a poll.
Can
real quick.
I ask one more question though, real quick? Why are we just hearing about this now? Is it just the cycle and everything else we're just bringing up now, or you were thinking we weren't going to put anything in?
No, it's just the cycle of things. And then how, when the call for projects came out, looking at the council agendas and making sure that we've got it on a council agenda that's coming in short order, but enough time to at least talk about it and think about the projects a little bit, but enough time, kind of cutting that middle ground.
Yeah, and Emily, or Councilmember Hamburg, so we've prioritized this list several
Right.
times, and I just, hey, here's what we did last time, and last workshop we talked about rock a lot, about why do we want to do a full, because that's our top project. So you kind of know it's coming, and then you get the email and you said, oh, it's here. And so that's why we tried to incorporate a little bit in the 10-year CIP, at least one project in that. And then had a
WAMPO
little-
doesn't let you know like a year in advance when the call.
Well, I mean, not really,
Yeah.
but
You know what's going to happen.
but you know it's going to happen. It just kind of snuck up, that sort of thing.
To answer your
Okay.
question, I think if I'm understanding the process right from what you've said, we don't want to do a way halfway job because might as well have just waited. But I could get on board with maybe 45th Street if we could pull something reasonable together there.
Just kind of do a quick canvas. Brandon, what would you say?
Yeah, if
This
we
is
can
not a
get
vote,
something,
it's just,
if
what
we
do
can
you
get
think?
something reasonable together that has a chance at getting selected, sure, I'm all for it. If not, why waste the effort?
I'd be for putting 45th forward on it.
okay. Mr. David,
I'm for it with the understanding that we can upgrade it next year.
Mr. Dean.
Yeah, same. I think we just get it on the list,
Okay.
submit something that's better than nothing,
Okay.
and we can revise it next year.
So you got a consensus there, okay?
Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So I've handed out to everyone a draft, and one copy of this actually had a watermark draft on it, but when we photocopied it, it didn't come through. So anyway, this is just, I have talked with the mayor of Keachai about trying to put something together that the two of us could send out to the project lead on this K254 development plan. I know they've got a lot of input from a lot of places, but I just thought if we could together say, hey, we're the mayors affected most by this project. This is what we think we should do. Anyway, just wanted to run it by you, see if you had any concerns with it, or I don't really want to get into a lot of wordsmithing or redrafting of it, but just wanted to see if you're okay with this.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I would, I mean, I guess for me to weigh in, I would like to see more than just one interchange. And I know that that's maybe more difficult for them to do from an engineering standpoint, but
I
something.
think from the project budget, it's more difficult.
Oh,
I think
okay.
they were told they're only going to do one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's what they were told.
I think it could be a part of a future project, though.
Okay.
I'll let you finish and then I'll go.
Anyways, I was just going to say, as much as we can keep traffic access through that industrial area, that's really going to help us out.
Oh, yeah.
And then the other comment I was going to make was to make sure that there is an allowance for a bike path over the, I know this says diamond, so I'm not really sure how that works, but just to make sure that people can
Good point.
get
Good point.
across, because that was one
Okay.
thing out in Goddard that was constantly plagued us,
Cut you in half
was people being able to cross the highway.
safely. Yeah.
They do that with the divergent diamond interchanges, so that's not a problem, but it's a good point that should be pointed out. Okay, great. Thank you.
Are you done, Mike? I didn't want to cut you off again. So I would like more time to look at this letter because this is the first I've seen it, and I wish I would have seen it before. But I
It
also
was just
think
drafted today, so.
I also think it would be really kind for us to also run this by K254 Corridor Development Association, since we're a part of that, and make sure that there isn't any heartburn, so that we can hopefully be united. And I assume K254 won't have much issue with our recommendations. And then also, it's very prescriptive, and I don't really necessarily like that. I don't think saying we want a diverging diamond is necessarily the approach that I would like to take. I would like to take trusting KDOT and Wilson to come up with their recommendations, and then we can vet through those a little bit more. Not saying I'm sold on a diverging diamond or a normal interchange, but I don't like being prescriptive about it. I think it's KDOT's road. We need KDOT to give us what thoughts they have, and then we can weigh in on those. But I'm not sold on the fact that a diverging diamond would be the solution. So I don't know that we should go in with any preconceived bias about that. I don't know why Mayor thought, why do you think a diverging diamond's better, but we can have that discussion offline. And yeah, I think that we should vet this letter before we send it. Give us some more time to look at it. I've been very involved with K254 throughout the years, so I would like more time to look at this before we wait. I think it's a good idea to send the letter. I think it's like anything, sending letters of support and sending your perspective and it coming from multiple angles is a good thing. I just would like to review it, make sure it's in line with sort of how I would like to see it, and also make sure that the 254 Corridor Association can see it so that they don't get blindsided, because they may have some input or thoughts too.
They're meeting on Friday, so that's certainly.
So I'll end it by saying that.
Yeah.
Earlier, I meant to mention the meeting coming up, and there was so many announcements about K254 that I completely forgot. So there is a meeting if any of you want to attend this Friday here in Bel Aire at City Hall at 11:30 for the regular K254 Corridor Development Association meeting. So it's not a public open house, but you guys are all always welcome to come to that. But hopefully I didn't ramble on too much, but give me some more time to review it and then I'll make some comments. But I generally like the idea of providing support in our input.
Yeah, and we could talk more in detail offline, but I think that we want to be prescriptive about it. I think that's intentional to do that. So because there's so much input. But
I don't like
we can talk more
limiting
detail.
what it could be with very little info. I don't think they've gathered enough info in this study to make an informed decision on what type of interchange it should be. And that's my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah. And Mr. Mayor, I don't disagree with being more objective based rather than prescriptive and let them kind of figure out how it does flesh out. But I do think if we encourage less interchanges, it may, I'd be a little concerned that it might reduce the marketability of the industrial district over there. I don't know that it will really change much. I'd just be a little bit concerned about property values not carrying quite as much.
Well, that was the reason for the frontage road, to make sure that they have that access. You got to really think through that process. And they're going to be the ones that have to do that because they're
Sure.
the engineers. I can't think through how frontage roads are going to work and not work with
Or package,
for-
right? Whatever
for
option.
freight
yeah.
or whatever, but that has to happen. And no matter what kind of interchange or where the changes are, that has to be done.
Yeah, and the Greenwich comment may be best highlighted by saying, preference interchange, but we understand this is a future improvement, not a part of this study. And we would like to keep our opinion of what it ultimately will be for later. This is
Yeah,
our preference, but we know it's not happening with this project.
All right, very good. Any other comments? That respect? Okay. Again, this is just a draft. It's not anything that's gone anyplace, and just wanted to run it by you and see what your thoughts were. So I appreciate the input. And I think if there's nothing else to talk about on future issues, we can move
Mayor, I
on.
did dig it out, so I got it. We need all the luck we can get.
Okay. Okay, good. All right. So Ted wins the prize tonight. Great. All right. We're ready for adjournment, I think. Unless somebody else has something they need to bring up.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr.
I move
Dean.
we adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Dean, a second by Mr. Proctor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Too bad. We're out. That motion passes 5-0. We're out of here. So see everybody